What's up, my strong people? Thank you for joining me on today's video on the 7 Granddaddy Laws of Training. My name is Steve Coyne. Please do me a favor, click the like button, hit subscribe to the channel where we will be putting out content on all things strength for the mind, body, and soul. All right, so the 7 Granddaddy Laws developed by Dr. Fred Hatfield. These are principles that you can use to guide your training for success. This is extremely applicable to strength training, but it really works for any physical demand, right? Even if it's, sport specific, skill specific, it doesn't matter. These all work excellently and they should govern what you are doing in your training program. Okay? So to get right into things, the first principle, the first law here is the law of individual differences. Okay, now the law of individual differences is very straightforward. This just says that every single individual person has different responses to training, different body types, different genetics, different environmental factors that will affect the outcomes of a training program. Okay, so I like to give the example very frequently of, not everybody should take, what somebody like Hafthor Bjornsson does for their training and apply it to themselves. Of course, there are things to be learned from that, but when you consider, Hafthor versus the average strength training individual, we've got a 7-foot tall Icelandic giant that has been strength training for years, eats 10,000 calories a day, has an environment that is built for success, and is on a ton of supplements. Okay, does that describe you? Most likely, no. Now, that being said, I think it's important to experiment for you as the individual to see what works and what doesn't work for you. These things such as hard gainers, easy gainers, like that is a reality for a lot of people. So it is worth, especially at the beginning of your journey, kind of trying different things to see what works. But you need to, again, think critically about what's going to work for you as the individual, considering all of those different factors. Okay, very important. So going into number 2 and 3, these tie together. Let's start with overcompensation. Overcompensation is what happens when we go and hit a workout. Our body will overcompensate and recover so that we adapt to come back stronger. Now, what happens is, let's say we go and hit a bench press workout. We will come back the next week. If we hit the exact same thing, we'll feel stronger. The weights will feel a little lighter. That's the overcompensation in effect right there. But if we do the exact same workout for 5 or 6 weeks straight, we never change the weights, it will get easier and easier and easier and easier. If our goal is to get stronger, then we need to implement principle number 3, which is the overload principle. So this just states that to continually get overcompensation, to continually make strength gains, we have to constantly overload the weights. We have to overload our body. We have to put more stresses on it in order to continually build up and get stronger. So these two work in conjunction. Overcompensation is like sort of the immediate effect, but overload is the long-term view of how we continually build up, right? Moving into specific adaptations to imposed demands, the SAID principle, SAID. So specific adaptations to imposed demands says that if you want to be explosive, you have to train explosively, right? If you want to be strong, you have to train with heavy weights, okay? So you cannot expect to be somebody that's going to have a really, really big high vertical jump if you never try to train plyometrics where you jump up quickly, or like, runners. If you want to be a sprinter and you never train sprints, you're never going to have that like ability to just boom, pick up. So let's refer back to what I was saying earlier as far as whether you're training for like sports or things like that. Different skill positions need different strengths and weaknesses. If you're like a receiver or a corner, something like that, you're going to need to have that ability to start and stop real quick. Okay. Now, extremely important for strongman, when we're going into events that have different events, sometimes you're going to need to train that explosive ability for certain events. Other things are very, very heavy, maybe 1 rep maxes, things like that. So consider what abilities you need to max out in order to get the demands that you need. You're going to have, again, specific adaptations to imposed demands. So when you're building a program or following a routine, consider those factors. Do you need to, be explosive? Do you need to throw things really far? Do you need to just have a high level of strength? Sharpen your training to be conducive to get those gains, okay? Moving into the use-disuse principle, this is very simply, if you don't use it, you lose it. This is on physical abilities, imposed demands, but also skill, okay? If you need to really refine and harness the technique of something that's more technically complicated, like a circus dumbbell, if you are not regularly practicing, you're gonna lose that groove of training, right? Now, there's always a level where if you have practiced this over and over and over again in the past, you're gonna have a higher baseline. So you might not need to introduce that, many, many months out or something. But if you really need to work on that specific skill set, you're gonna need to put it in earlier on, okay? So if you don't use it, you lose it. Let's get back to like the example of sprinting. If you need to be a good sprinter, you got competition up where you need to move really, really fast. If you're not regularly sprinting and incorporating that into your program, you're gonna lose the ability to hit that top speed like you used to, okay? Specificity, okay? So specificity says that you cannot be better at squatting by just leg pressing. So whatever you are going for, you need to be meeting the actual specificity in your program, right? So consider this again with like your competition coming up. If you have a log press overhead, maybe you can build a lot of strength with like a push press on a barbell or something, but that's not specific to what you need. So to maximize your gains and to maximize your success for what you want to accomplish, you have to be doing that exact movement. Or in instances where you do not have the equipment or something, either figure it out, try to work in road trips to like gyms or other places where you will be able to get some specificity with the equipment you need, or mimic to the best of your abilities. It just is not going to be as effective to be training things outside of what you need for the show, right? So same thing, you can't get better at squatting by leg pressing. You can't get better at deadlifting by, single leg, this and that, the Joel Seedman nonsense, right? So that's that. Pretty simple. Moving on, the general adaptation syndrome, number 7. Okay, so the general adaptation syndrome really kind of encompasses a lot of these other things, like the overcompensation, the overload, specific adaptations to imposed demands. But the general adaptation syndrome, says when we're combining these different principles, that we're gonna need a period of lighter or lower intensity, like a deload week, to get the adaptations that we're looking for, to get the general adaptations, okay? So this is further broken up into 3 stages: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion, okay? So this is just like, stimulus, the resistance that your body is gonna give. Your body's gonna want to try and stay at homeostasis, but we're trying to elicit the overcompensation effect through overload. Overloading fatigues our system, so we get into exhaustion, but we don't want to overtrain, or we don't want to go into extreme adrenal or CNS fatigue where we can't recover and we cannot train or perform. Okay, so there must be periods of recovery, lighter or lower intensity, in order to get the adaptations that we're looking for. Okay, so when this happens, this actually goes into an effect called the supercompensation effect, and that's how we're looking to, elevate our performance. Okay, so let's look at this graph down at the bottom. We have a line here. This is our initial starting base level. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a training stimulus down here, but this is going down because this is, a performance and fatigue thing. When we're training really hard, we're building fatigue. It's really building up, which means if we're in fatigue, our performance will go down. So we have to have this period of recovery to go up, not just to return to our normal baseline, but to create the adaptation to go beyond our old base level and create the new base. So what we're looking to do over time is, again, train, recover, adapt. Train, recover, adapt. Train, recover, adapt. So when you're looking at how to get that done, or when you're thinking about your bigger goals as a strongman or just an athlete in general, think about how you can piece all these different parts of the puzzle together so you can look at it over a long-term scale. Because when we can do this, we can sustainably have not just like an 8 or 12 week period where we go to there. We can build this long-term trend where we go up and up and up and up and up. Okay. Now, with all of these factors at play, you need to consider, for all the elements you need as an athlete, you're going to constantly need some variation of, power, strength, conditioning. So there should always be some blend of these at play. But using these 7 Grandaddy laws of training, you can mix things around to give yourself new stimuluses to get a new training effect and recover and continue on. So back to this overload and overcompensation principle. If we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're not going to get the overload, the general adaptation, or the super compensation that we're looking for to become a better athlete. So remember that there's got to be some level of varying your training. Now, a lot of the times for novice and beginner lifters, you can follow a program and continue to get some of these gains for like quite a long time. But if you ever hit a plateau for any reason, there's something going on in here with these 7 laws that is off, that is not in balance, right? So it could be as simple as you're not letting yourself recover enough, okay? Or you're giving your body the same stimulus you've always given it, therefore you're not able to get the overload, okay? There's a whole lot of factors at play, but again, just take a step back and critically think, what is going on here? All right, so that is an overview of the 7 Grandaddy laws of training. Again, I want to emphasize that, this is something, regardless of your physical goal, can really, really help you become a better athlete, better strongman, better power lifter, whatever your goal is, okay? These affect everybody. So that is, very simply, the governing principles for you to get better. If you're unsure of how to implement these, if you're unsure of what to do and exactly what that looks like in a program, please feel free to reach out to me. If you want to schedule a free strategy call, there's a link down in the description below so we can chat and talk about how to get you better, stronger, and happier. Thank you for watching my video today. Have a championship day.